Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl. We're fresh off the BAFTA Awards and turned into our prediction video. Did not do very hot at the BAFTA, so I'm hoping, to come back around here with SAG. But hey, that's the fun thing on this channel. We hold our L's proudly. So now coming here into SAG, how has BAFTA really influenced any of your, picks?
It hasn't at all. I have firmly all season long said that BAFTA's going to do one thing, SAG's going to do another. That has always been my view. That's what we see every single award season. The difference, I think, between SAG and BAFTA is that SAG really loves a narrative. They love going with the people that have been dominating the season because it's their time. Or wouldn't that win be so momentous? Wouldn't that just be a historic win to give someone? SAG goes for those type of wins, while BAFTA says, we don't give a shit. We're going to go for the performances we like most, which is why all year long I've been saying Mikey Madison is going to win BAFTA no matter what. And as soon as Demi Moore gave her speech at the Golden Globes, I said, well, that's it. She's won Critics' Choice. She's won SAG, because they love a narrative and Demi Moore has the narrative. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but nothing has changed my predictions here. And no matter what happens at SAG, unless it's completely out of left field, it's not going to influence my final Oscar predictions, which I think are a mix of BAFTA and SAG.
Well, with all that being said, why don't we kick off our SAG predictions here? But let's start at the bottom and work our way up. So let's start with Film Stunt Ensemble. This is an award that every year SAG, I think, does, and it's cool. They just don't want to include in their award show. So hopefully this year is different and they actually present this. Fall Guy, movie about stunts, was at last year's Oscars, kicking off that whole campaign of this is why we need to have this category at the actual Academy. Doesn't have it there yet, so it's going to have to settle for the SAG prize. Do you agree, or are you going elsewhere? Because I've seen people online say Dune or Wicked.
I agree with you. I think it will be The Fall Guy, but that said, it is not a lock. That was a movie that did not perform very well at the box office, and though audiences did seem to like it that saw it, I know I love the movie. This is not the biggest movie in the category. And as we know in the past, very rarely do they go off of whatever's in the zeitgeist. The one year that I could think of is like 2020 when they went for Wonder Woman 1984, which was a weird choice. But that was also a weird year. The Fall Guy has a lead here, but if it's not that, I could easily see it being Wicked, because I think that's a great way to acknowledge that stunts can be combined with choreography. And the way that some of the most memorable sequences in Wicked are crazy things that the dancers are doing, that although it is dance, they are pretty stunt heavy. I think of like the library scene, Dancing Through Life, when all the dancers are running around the turning bookshelves and sliding and everything. Those are fantastic stunts. And so I could definitely see an angle for a Wicked win. It does feel like a bit of an offbeat winner. It doesn't feel like the type of thing that normally wins, but could happen. You know what? Screw it. I'm going Wicked. Fall Guy, it's not in the zeitgeist. I can picture a large chunk of SAG voters going, I didn't see that one, so fuck it, I'm going Wicked.
Wicked could happen. Fall Guy, its main push here is, like you said, it's a film about stunts, as well as the critics groups that do have stunt choreography awards more often than not went with Fall Guy, and when they didn't, they went with Furiosa. Looking at past years, like last year we had John Wick, which was a huge stunt movie, but they gave it to Mission Impossible, which is arguably a more stunt movie, I guess. And then going out through previous years, to your point about Wicked, it would be the first musical to win, but would not be the first musical to get a nomination. Like Les Mis got in. This has a little bit more action-y stuff inside of it, but it would be the first musical to win, which could be a narrative all upon itself, which SAG does love their narratives.
The Fall Guy is the rightful winner for sure. I just doubt how many people actually saw it.
Well, that will move us over into the supporting actor category, where I feel like we both agree, as well as the industry, it's Kieran Culkin, a real pain. He is going to sweep.
Yeah, there's no question. It's not even like us agreeing with it. It's the entire industry has agreed that Kieran Culkin is winning this. He's won everything. He's going to continue to win everything. I don't even see who would be number two here. Edward Norton? I don't know. Like, this is a category where we don't even have to consider who the runner-up is. It's just Kieran Culkin all the way.
Exactly. He'll win this. He just won BAFTA, and then he'll go on to win the Oscar as well. Over in supporting actresses, more of a conversation for who is the winner here. I currently have Zoe Saldana continuing her sweep. Grande's had shots to overcome her. CCA seemed primed to go with Grande. I mean, they even went with Wicked and Director, and Saldana still won theirs. So if CCA couldn't do it, I'm not sure SAG will, but are you agreeing or are you still on the Grande train?
I understand the point that Grande has had every opportunity to overcome Saldana and she has not done it yet. But if there's one voting body that is going to care about the controversy, it's this one. And I know even in bodies that probably would care about that, Saldana has still continued to win awards. She could just continue the sweep. But something that has consistently been said is Wicked got the most nominations of any movie ever at SAG. And how do you do that and then not win something? Obviously, you could say, well, it's winning ensemble, or, I just switched my stunt ensemble to that. But I do think Ariana Grande would make sense to be awarded somewhere. Actors seem to absolutely love her this year. Actors seem to love this movie. So at this point, I am riding with Ariana Grande. It's not something I feel really strongly about happening because, again, Saldana has swept everywhere. But if there's one place the controversy hurts Emilia Perez, it is at SAG.
I would agree this would be the spot for Grande to win. It's just like now that we're here to this point, I would have assumed she would have had at least something else on the major awards circuit by this point. So it's hard for me to break away from a sweeper because usually if SAG's going away from the eventual Oscar winner, it's not their only win as SAG. They usually have at least something else in the lead up here. So I think I'm rocking Saldana to continue her sweep. But if Grande wins, it'll be one of those things where like I like both performances. I like Grande's a little bit more. So I'll be happy even though I got the prediction wrong. Well, you talk about upsets, we talk about sweeps. BAFTAs just broke down the lead actress category with Mikey Madsen winning for Nora over Demi Moore in The Substance. So why don't we dive right into that here at the SAG Awards, where like you talk about narratives make the most sense here. But Moore is the only nomination for her movie. And I could see if the love for Nora is hitting a lot of these domestic guilds. And I mean, it has the potential to win ensemble here. Maybe it has the potential to upset here in Best Film Actress. I'm really torn between these two. Is there a specific way you're leaning towards right now?
I am so heavily more at SAG. I think back to so many other presumed Oscar winners that have won at SAG and then lost at the Oscar, which is what I'm predicting for Demi Moore. They love a career narrative. They love giving someone their flowers who has never received that before. They love hearing, I almost quit acting because no one was taking me seriously, but here I am and I'm winning your votes. I'm winning awards. SAG eats that shit up every single year. Nom 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 nom. That said, if Mikey Madison somehow pulls an upset here, because clearly they love Honora, they gave it every possible nomination that it could have gotten. If Mikey Madison wins here, it's over. But if Demi Moore wins, I will maintain it's a 50-50 going into the Oscars.
So what we've seen, especially in this lead actress category year after year, is there tends to be a two-horse race here where one person may win more awards, but the other person's film is just more strong.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen that with Michelle Yeoh, we've seen that with Emma Stone, and it's probably going to happen again with Mikey Madison this year. If she does win at SAG, like you said, it would be the definitive nail in the coffin. I guess I'm leaning towards Demi Moore just for a lot of the reasons that you said is they love a narrative. They love when actors talk about just as you said, and as she has said at every speech so far, I almost hung it up. I almost called it quits. This role got me back into it. I'm leaning with Demi Moore, but again, I think that if our SAG Ensemble winner, I know it doesn't have to happen every year, but usually the SAG Ensemble winner, if they have a nominated performance, they tend to win one of those performances. And I would currently be having the two frontrunner contenders for SAG Ensemble losing in their acting categories.
I see the comparable of this race to being something a little bit like 2020. I think of like Chadwick Boseman, Anthony Hopkins, where it was basically an accepted fact. Chadwick Boseman was sweeping the entire season. It was such a sure thing that they switched the Oscar categories around to have Best Actor presented last, so it could be a big emotional moment. Obviously, Demi Moore is very different. She is still around. She is still going to be making movies. I think she's going to get a massive career boost from The Substance. But with that said, it was like an accepted fact that everyone is going to fall in line and go with Chadwick Boseman. And then at the very end, first thing Anthony Hopkins wins, BAFTA. And it just so happened that people liked The Father far more than they liked Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And that was what coasted Anthony Hopkins to a win. You could also look at like Frances McDormand in Nomadland, where SAG just goes with a really great narrative. Viola Davis had never won a lead acting award at the Oscars before. But then Frances McDormand just happened to be in the strongest movie, The Wife versus The Favorite, Glenn Close, Olivia Colman. Of course, Glenn Close is winning the SAG award. Of course that's happening. But when it comes it down to it at the end of the day, they just like the favorite more. That's how I see the divide between the substance and Nora. The substance, this is an actor's movie. This performance is an actor's performance. It is about someone who is aging within the Hollywood system and is feeling hopeless and feeling lost, which sort of aligns with what Demi Moore has been going through in her personal life. The narrative is so strong. She wins here. Does not change anything with my prediction for the Oscars.
Over in the film a lead actor category, Adrien Brody has not missed a step so far. He's won CCA, he's won Golden Globe, he's won BAFTA, and I guess he's going to win the SAG too. I know Timothée Chalamet's film did exceptionally well, getting 3 acting nominations, getting into ensemble, and Adrien Brody's film missed every other potential nomination. But like, it's the same thing over in the supporting actress category. There's been chances that an historical precedent has shown if someone's going to upset, they would have done it by this point. And I'm just having a hard time sticking with Timmy here, even though I've been banging the drum that he would win BAFTA, he would win SAG all season long. He lost the BAFTA. Now it's kind of wearing my overall perception.
I totally see that. I'm going with Adrien Brody because that's sort of what I've believed all season long would happen. I've never really been able to hop on the Timmy train. As much as I love the performance, it would be my vote. I've never felt that confident with them wanting to award someone who is not even 30 yet. That is a huge roadblock when it comes to the leading actor category. He's still a baby in their eyes. Adrien Brody has been my pick, but that said, clearly SAG did not care as much about The Brutalist. And it could be very easy for SAG to just fall in line and say, everyone else is giving it to Adrien Brody, we'll give it to him. But they didn't nominate Guy Pearce, they didn't nominate Felicity Jones. Who knows how many of them actually watched the whole movie? As we've been understanding through awards season, a lot of people are not finishing The Brutalist. Obviously, they love A Complete Unknown. Just like Anora, just like Wicked, they gave it every single possible nomination that they could. They gave it ensemble, they gave it actor, supporting actress. They didn't need to do all of that. They set the precedent for Monica Barbaro. It was her only nomination going into Oscar morning. It's easy to say they didn't over-nominate it, but at the time, Monica Barbaro was definitely an over-nomination, and it's clear it wasn't just alphabet bias that got her in there. Maybe you could make an argument that Timothée Chalamet makes a surprise win here, but even if he does, I don't think that changes a damn thing for the Oscars. It would just be a lone win, the same way that I'm predicting with Ariana Grande. But that said, I am sticking with Adrien Brody. I just think Timothée Chalamet is a close second place.
In a lead actor category compared to the lead actress categories, I just scrolled back on the Wikipedia, going all the way back to the 2004 season, the 11th annual SAG Awards, and now this year we're on the 31st. They have correctly predicted the Oscar winner every time but 2. They went with Denzel over Casey Affleck, and then of course they went with Chadwick Boseman over Anthony Hopkins. So those 2 exceptions have been rather recent, but more often than not, they are very aligned with what the Oscars are going to do here. And both of those exceptions were people who had a very solid reason for why they lost the award. With that stat in mind, it's very much leading me over towards Brody, even though I was 50-50 coming into the recording here today.
In the ensemble category, this is something that could be a huge boon to something in the Best Picture race. Anora has won every single other major guild at this point. And so if it were to win SAG, which I do think it will, that would just cement it. But that said, I do think that other things could win the SAG award. And I think each of them would mean something different in terms of what we'd be expecting going into the Oscars. Personally, I'm going Anora. I think it's clear that this guild loved this movie. The ensemble is so much of what makes this movie work. And if they can't reward Mikey Madison in Best Actress, because they won't, this is a great way to still give Mikey Madison a SAG award, as well as to honor and acknowledge this very distinct and varied group of performers who are all in a movie that is clearly loved by the industry.
On paper, it makes zero sense to not go with Wicked, but I'm going with Anora as well. I mean, like what we've seen here in the last month or so is almost every American-centric guild or award show has shown up for this movie. Even in times where they can't give this film any other wins, like we saw at CCA, place where you assume, oh, Madison could win. It could win screenplay. It could win something else. No, they just give it picture. And it's something that you said in previous videos as well as on our Discord. When places have the opportunity to reward Anora, they're going to find a space to do that. It may not always be be in the Best Picture prize, but they love the movie. They're going to go out for it. And since it seems like Madsen is not really going to be able to overcome that narrative behind Demi Moore, Ensemble is the place where it makes the most sense for that. It stinks though, because Wicked, if this was just one film, there was no For Good coming out in like 10 months, I think it would steamroll this category. No questions asked. It would win here. But I think there are going to be some voters who just think like, hey, we can do this again in a few months down the line. And Anora, we have this opportunity here. Clearly, they loved it. While Wicked may have tied the record all time for nominations, Anora, same thing with like A Complete Unknown. It overperformed on the day of, getting nominations that weren't really expected. Like they got Yuri Borisov in there, where at that time in the awards race, most people were like, oh, he'll be more of the more European-centric shows, but the American ones, they're going to leave him out. He got in here. I'm going to be so mad and sad on Sunday. Like, oh, it was just Wicked after all. But I think Anora's got this, and it's going to continue to add to its package to go on to win the Oscar. And I think the real question will be on Oscar night, is Anora just like picture director? Is it just picture screenplay? Is it picture Madsen? It could have a very weird package, like the weirdest package we've seen for Best Picture winner in very recent memory. Yeah, I think it's really between those two. I know there's some out there who believe Conclave holds a shot after that massive BAFTA win, but Ensemble seems weird for that movie. Like it's been getting a lot of casting wins. It hasn't been getting as many ensemble stuff. I don't know. Maybe a Complete Unknown, maybe Amelia Perez to shock us, but I think it's Anora v. Wicked.
With Wicked, I do think that if it was going to win SAG, it would have won PGA as well. I have not seen the argument for why this has to be an undeniable SAG Ensemble winner. Yes, it got every nomination it could have. Yes, it tied the record. Anora also got every single nomination it possibly could have. A Complete Unknown also got every single nomination it could have. Why is Wicked the one that everyone is going towards so much more when it's clearly not as beloved a film in the award season landscape as something like Anora, as something like Conclave? Conclave stands a real shot here. And if it were to win SAG, I might be tempted to put that as my Best Picture winner. With a SAG BAFTA combo, that seems pretty dangerous. Red alert. Alarms going off.
Well, that is the conclusion of our SAG predictions episode. You want to make sure to subscribe because Oscar predictions, the final ones, they're right around the corner, as well as our Best Picture revisiting series. We're wrapping that up here on the channel. But until next time, my name's Dill.
And my name's Matt, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.